guys, welcome back to today's video. We are doing our second last reading wrap up for the year of 2024. It feels insane to say, but this was actually my best reading month for the entire year. So I managed to read 14 books. 8 of them were physical books, 5 of them were ebooks, and then 1 of them was an audio book. We have quite a lot to talk about, so I'm just gonna get straight into it. So the first book that I picked up was one that was a leftover one from October, I believe. But the first book that I did read was The Midnight Star. This is the third and final book in the Young Elites trilogy by Mary Lou. This was also one of the last 4 books that I needed to read in the book series I want to read in 2024 challenge that I'm participating in. So once I finished this book, I only had 1 series left. Like I said, this is the third and final book in this series. I just legitimately did not care about this book. I don't really know how I feel about it, to be honest. I did end up rating it 2.5 stars. So yeah, which is kind of what I rated every other book in this series now that I'm having a quick little look. This was just a very meh series for me. I didn't really love the conclusion of this book series. There were so many questions left at the end about Adelina. I don't know how I feel about it, and I haven't thought about it since I read it. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I will probably not pick up another Mary Lou book, just having read this series and was it the Legend series? She's just not an author for me, which is fine, but I'm glad I finally finished this book. But there's not much I can say about it because I don't remember, which might be actually really common for most of these books because, yeah, like I said, there's 14 of them. And then the second book I picked up was a reread, and it was my first and only reread for the year, and that was You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. The main reason why I picked it up is that I am participating in the Speak Now Taylor's Version Reading Challenge. The prompt for the song Mine is reread a favorite book. I picked up You and Me on Vacation for it. I loved it. It's still really a really good book. I ended up rating it 4 stars. I'm comfortable with that. I think when I did my Emily Henry dedicated video, I think I gave it 4 stars anyway in that. But no, I really enjoyed Poppy and Alex. The way that this is written is so good. It focuses on Poppy and Alex, who were basically friends from college. And every, I guess, summer they would go away on a vacation. And then a couple years ago, they went on a vacation. Something happened and they've not really spoken since. And she isn't doing very well and decides that she wants to go on a vacation, and she invites Alex along, and it just flashbacks to like all of their sort of like their meeting, then the different vacations they've gone on, and then you basically kind of get what happened on that last fateful trip that they went together. And I love Poppy and Alex. They're so cute. It was so good to reread this, and I had a great time with it. There's not really much I want to say, but if you want a bit more of my thoughts and stuff, go check out the dedicated Emily Henry video that I have. And then the third book I picked up was actually also another one that was for that Speak Now Taylor's Version Reading Challenge, and that was Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This is the first book that I've actually read by her. It's also her debut novel. We focus on our main characters, Percy and Sam. This is also a flashback book as well. So we focus on like Percy and Sam when they're in high school, and Percy's family purchases this, I guess, vacation home up on the lake in, I think they're in Canada from memory. And Sam and his brother and his mum actually live in the house next door to theirs. So it's basically just flashbacks between them meeting each different summer as they grow up, and then also sort of get together, and then sort of what happens and why they break up. Starts with Percy being like 30 something years old and getting a phone call that brings her back to the lake, and meeting Sam and his older brother Charlie now that they're all grown up and in their 30s. It was really beautiful. I think I maybe cried a couple times. I really enjoyed it. I thought Percy and Sam were great characters. I did rate this one 4.5 stars. I really liked the way it was written. I did get to a point where I got a little like stuck in it and I had to put it down. I honestly, this is going to sound really weird, but I don't like this type of paper and the smell that it has. And when I read books that have this type of paper, there's something about it that I just don't like, and I struggle to read the books because I don't like the texture and the smell. But yeah, I think that's the main thing that was off-putting about me, is that I just don't like the paper that it's printed on. I thought this was a really beautiful, well-written book, and I want to pick up the other 3 books that I think Carly Fortune has out. What I also did like about this is that there were some like little plot twists, as much as like a fiction romance book can have. I mean, I don't know if anyone else could guess them, but I was only able to guess them like maybe a chapter before it was revealed. So I didn't find it predictable, but at times I was able to guess things and be like, is this what's going on? And then be revealed. And I felt really satisfied, and I liked that because I'm not someone who can actually guess stuff in books and be right. So when it does happen, I'm like excited. I don't get annoyed that, oh damn, I'm reading a predictable book. I get excited that I worked out what was being put down. But yeah, 4.5-star read, really enjoyed it, would want to pick up more books by Carly Fortune. And then the next book we picked up was actually an ebook. It was the first one. It was A Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. Now, if anyone is unaware, Amazon, I believe it is, has gotten 5 different female authors to write these short little novellas. I don't even know if you could call them novellas. They feel shorter than novellas. I'm talking all of these 5 books range from like 50 to maybe 70/80 pages long. The first one I did pick up, which is the first one in the series, was A Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. I did rate this one 4 stars. My biggest complaint about it was that it was too short. I went into it knowing that it was only going to be 70 pages, but I wanted at least another 300 if I'm being honest. I can't remember the main characters' names, but they're basically best friends, brother, childhood friends to lovers kind of a thing. I just wanted more of these 2 characters' stories. I wanted more of their childhood stuff. I wanted more of their little hangouts, group dates that they went on as adults, and then what happens with their relationship moving forward. This was also another book that had flashbacks too, so that was clearly the theme for this month because I read 3 in a row. But what happens is that they, for whatever reason, stop talking. I'm not going to spoil it, but then it's Christmas Eve and her father sends her in essentially a snowstorm round to her best friend's family's place to see if she's got this one particular pot or pan that he must have so he can cook dinner. So she goes round and the brother ends up being there. The power then goes out, so they're stuck and they're basically forced to actually have some conversations that they've kind of been avoiding. And it was good. It was cute. I would very much like Ali Hazelwood to just write a longer version of this and publish it because I wanted more. I need to know what happens. So if that could happen, I would be very grateful. And then book 5 was the second book in this Amazon short Christmas novella series thingy, and it was Merry Ever After by Tessa Bailey. I went into this book with a lot of bias because I don't like Tessa Bailey as an author. I can't even say she's hit and miss for me because I don't think any of her books were hits. They were all pretty much misses for me. I don't understand what people like about her stories and her books. So I went into this one expecting not to like it. I rated it 2 stars. It was just everything that I hate about Tessa Bailey books. We essentially focus on this single mother. She moves to a small town, so it's a small town Christmas romance, and she's working in like a secondhand store and she's allowed to fix some of the clothes and I think maybe sell them. And anyway, there's this farmer that's always coming in who's really tall, trying to find himself some jeans that fit, but he just has a crush on the single mother. And I liked the first chapter. It swiftly went downhill when we got, I think was it Luke or Lucas's point of view. There's something about the way that Tessa Bailey writes men that I absolutely loathe. I do not think that they are well written. I think that they're a little bit toxic, but they're written in a way that makes you think that they're not toxic, but it actually is toxic masculinity, and it gives me the ick. I don't like it. The relationship was entirely insta-lovey. It was gross. It went so quickly to just having sex that I did not enjoy it. I did not like it. Like I said, rated it 2 stars. I only read it because it was cheaper for me to buy all 5 books together than just to purchase the 4 I was willing to buy. So that was Merry Ever After. And then because I just didn't want to smash out 5 ebooks in a row, I told myself that I needed to pick up a physical book and I needed to pick up the book that intimidated me the most for the month. And that was When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I picked this book because, once again, this was the month of reading all of the books that I had left on my challenges so I could complete them. For the Speak Now Taylor's Version reading challenge, I had picked this book for Long Lived, which prompt was read a fantasy novel, preferably one featuring dragons. And I've read multiple fantasy books with dragons that were disappointments. So this was my last ditch effort to read a fantasy book with with dragons in it. So I picked this one up, and you know what? I ain't mad at all because I have used it for the prompt. I don't even know how to describe this book or tell you what goes on with it, but I rated it 4 stars. I 100% can see why people rated it 5 stars. It kind of gives me like Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros vibes mixed in together, kind of that we have dragons and we have fae, but that's kind of like where the similarities end. We focus on Rave. She's basically an assassin for a rebellion in this fantasy world. She basically gets captured and is going to be executed. She gets saved by Khan, who is a king and a dragon rider, and he basically saves her because he recognizes her. And it was easy to guess some things and who Rave is. He knows who she is and why he's saving her. It was really interesting. I'm interested to see what happens next. The characters are really great. I think the characters are what carries this story because you've got some like really great sassy characters. There's a found family happening. It's an interesting read in regards to, I guess, the way that women or females are treated in this society. I'm excited and intrigued to see more. I can't wait for the sequel and to learn a little bit more about Rave. I don't think that I'm entirely smart enough to work out what's actually going on in this series, but I'm just here for the ride and I had a great time with it. It did take me a little while to get through, but I am glad that I've read it because it was one of the thicker fantasy novels left on my shelf. Plus, I purchased it this year and I had to get it read. And because I think I was halfway through the month at this point and I still had quite a lot of my TBR to get through, but I was also exhausted, I let myself smash out the last 3 books in this little Amazon series story thingy. And then the next book that I picked up was All by My Elf by Olivia Dade. This book, if I'm remembering it correctly, I didn't like very much. I rated it 3 stars though. From memory, it's a really weird book. This story had no chapters. I don't know how to read something that doesn't have chapters because where the hell am I supposed to stop reading if I need a break? I couldn't stop. I had to keep reading and it wasn't that enjoyable, so I didn't have a good time. And I just couldn't cope with the fact that there were no chapters. It was like 50 pages, but it was 50 pages too many. I felt like we were 3/4 way through a story and just got shoved in there and just told good luck, all the best to you. Anyway, back to the actual plot. We focus on 3 college professors. They're trying to get some extra money, so they're taking part in like this Christmas pastry thing, and they have to drive around a van that has a massive hot dog on it. It was weird. The girl's in there with like her best friend, and then who she thinks that her best friend is dating, but she has a crush on him. And I'm like, how do you not know that your best friend isn't actually dating this guy? They end up getting stuck in really bad traffic to a point that it's not going anywhere. They're all stuck and they have to sleep in their van, but they end up having sex in the van instead. And I hated it. It was a no from me. The next book that I picked up was Merriment and Mayhem. I think this one is by Alexandria Bellfleur. I legitimately don't remember what this book was about. Oh, this is the firefighter Christmas romance. So we have our main character. I don't remember her name and I also didn't write it down because that's just me. And she basically has her grandmother or a great aunt pass away and she inherits the house. So she goes to the house and she's trying to bake some cookies, but she puts the oven on the wrong setting and she starts a fire in the house. So the fire brigade rock up and one of the fireys is really hot and they have a little banter and some flirting. And then she decides to set up some Christmas lights, but she's using a really old ladder. It ends up falling underneath her and breaking. And so she's hanging from her gutters by her hands and the hot firefighter rocks up and she finally agrees to date him. And whilst they're on their first date, he has to save people, which I thought was unnecessary. Didn't like that part. They were both 2 people who didn't want to do a casual arrangement, but they sure jumped into casual sex very quickly, which I didn't like. I feel like the story had potential. It just needed a full-length novel in order to explore things better. I did end up rating it 3 stars as well. And then I jumped into the 5th and final book in this Amazon short story, which was Only Santa's in the Building by Alexis Dario. Area. This was the second one I was most interested in reading, purely because of the title. It 100% gives Only Murders in the Building, which is the Selena Gomez TV show, which I adore. I loved it. I thought this was great. I rated it 4 stars. Once again, I would take a full-length novel of this. Please write it out. And I am interested and intrigued, and I would like to actually pick up some of her full-length novels next year because I really enjoyed what I read. I thought the novel was super cute. We have a main character who's like a graphic designer, and she's having to work through a deadline, and someone keeps leaving cute little ornaments on her door. So she's decorating her tree because she hasn't had a chance to do it, and they all get invited to go to someone else who lives in the building's Christmas party, and they all have to go with Santa. And the two of them have a little cute romance, and I'm here from it. I thought it was clever. I want a fully fleshed out story. Please and thank you. I thought it was fantastic. I'm gonna be honest, I think the only two worth reading are the Ali Hazelwood one and the Alexis Daria one. And then I went into the book series that I just did not want to actually read, which was Slammed by Colleen Hoover, which had Slammed, Point of Retreat, and then I actually read another book in between Point of Retreat and this girl, but I'm going to just talk about the 3 of these together and just say that I rated Slammed 3 stars, I rated Point of Retreat 2 stars, and I rated this girl, the lowest rating I've given out this year, 1.5 stars. I did not enjoy this series. It was just not very good. I did not like Laken and Will. I thought it was really gross that the reason why they couldn't be together, that Will is like a student teacher and he's actually teaching one of her electives, and the way that they find out that he's a teacher is that she rocks up to his freaking class. She still bloody tries to be with him, and it's like he is raising his brother on his own because his parents have died, and she's literally willing to let him ruin his career so that she can make out with him. It gave me the icks that we went down the pathway of being in love with your teacher, but when you're trying to glamorize that relationship and want people rooting for it and thinking it's okay, I think it's gross and I don't support it. It was just ick. It was ick. I hated it. Point of Retreat, I don't like Will. It was basically just a carry on from this book with his point of view. I hated it. I skim read it. I couldn't stand it. Will is an icky character. The toxic masculinity in this book is strong, and I had such a bad time with it that it gave me the icks and the creeps, and I do not understand why anyone wanted Laken and Will to be together. I don't like Laken, but girl, you can do better. And this girl is the most pointless book that I have read this year, and I would argue for several years, because this book was just this book from Will's point of view. They get married, and he's basically just telling all of the events of this book from his point of view in this book. It was pointless. I hated it. I had such a bad time with it. It ruined my mood. It made me so mad, and I don't want to talk about that series anymore. I'm glad I've read it, but I can't wait to unhaul it, and I never want to pick up another Colleen Hoover book again. Left such a bad taste in my mouth. But book 13, which was technically book 12 because book 13 was this girl, was my only audiobook read for the month, which was Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret by Benjamin Stevenson. This is the 3rd book in the Ernest Cunningham series, which I have read this year. They're set in Australia, and it was just a great time. I really liked how in this one, Ernest has an ex-wife who we meet in the first book. In this book, we get to kind of have more to do with her a little bit in a way. And we end up exploring the Blue Mountains, which is a region in New South Wales, which I really like how we're showing off different parts of Australia. And anyway, we went there, and basically she's been accused of murdering her partner, has no memory of it, and her partner is this well-off person in the theater world where he helps rehabilitate people that have addiction and stuff like that. And he has this program that they go through, and they build theaters and stuff like that, and they put on shows, and basically they decide to go through with the theater show that they were going to do, and more people wind up dead, and it was great. I had fun with it. I did not guess the murder until it was literally revealed and in my face. Look, it was great. I had a fun time with it. I rated it 4.5 stars, but I did really enjoy the Christmas spin on it. I thought it was fantastic. If you've read his other books, give this one a go. It was so worth the wait, and I had a fun time with it. But we are going to get into the 14th and final book, which was Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. This is the 3rd book in the, I believe it's, the Rebel Blue Ranch novels. And this one focused on Teddy and Gus, and they are the 2 characters that I've been so excited to read about since we met them. This book did not disappoint. I rated it 4 stars, which is what I've rated the entire series. They're just a very well done, 4 stars read for me. So this is the single father trope. Gus has a really good relationship with his baby mum, Cam, but she has to go to the city studying to be a lawyer, and it has to do with the bar exam. So his daughter, Riley, is staying with him for the entire summer, and he's kind of struggling having to be a single dad and look after his daughter full time because he's used to only having her half a week. But he's also trying to take on more responsibilities on the family ranch, and he's basically just spread himself out too thin. So his younger sister, Emmy, who the first book focuses on, suggests that her best friend, Teddy, should be basically a live-in babysitter for the summer, just so that there is someone to look after Riley during the day, so that Gus can still go to work and do his job as he normally would. The problem is that Gus and Teddy don't like one another. And this was enemies to lovers, and it was so good. The banter is great. I felt like the relationship that developed between Teddy and Gus was very natural, very realistic. It was a beautiful relationship that did end up blossoming. It was just sweet to see how Gus went from really not liking her and finding her being a really irritating bad influence on his younger sister and falling for her. It was really sweet. I enjoyed it. But one thing I do think that Lila Sage does really well is she sets up the next book. So we already have the story set up for Cam and Dusty. I thought all of the scenes with Riley were fantastic. She was adorable, and this was everything I wanted, and there was only one moment that made me cringe. Overall, 4 stars. Really glad that I have picked up the cowboy romance, and I kind of get it now, guys, just a little bit. That's it. They were the 14 books that I picked up. So we do have to quickly run through our statistics. So basically, for my 24 books that I want to read in 2024, the last 3 books that I had to read was the Slam trilogy by Colleen Hoover. Apologies, I forgot to say that because I was too busy hating on the books. So that means that this challenge is done. We've completed it as of November, which is amazing. The book series to read in 2024, I finished The Young Elites by reading The Midnight Star, and then I also had the Slam trilogy, and I read Slammed, Point of Retreat, and This Girl, which means that this challenge has now been completed. In November, I did start the month off with 86 books. I did read 14, though admittedly I can't count most of them because they weren't physical books. I did buy 6 books. It was a bad month for buying books. So I ended the month back on 85 books. So we didn't really go anywhere. I'm also going into December with only 1 book left that I am allowed to buy for the 36 books that I want to purchase in 2024. I read 28 days out of the month, and I didn't have a single 5-star read this month. And then I've already completed my Taylor Swift Errors challenge. And then with my Speak Now Taylor's Version reading challenge, I ticked off the Mind Song. The prompt for that was reread one of your favorite books. I did You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. I then also ticked off Never Grow Up, and the prompt for that was a book that follows the protagonist growing up. I picked Every Summer After by Carly Fortune just because you see them as kids, and then adults, you watch them grow up like over 15 years or more of their life. We also ticked off Long Live, which the prompt was a fantasy book, preferably one featuring dragons. I did When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. Oh, and then I also ticked off I Can See You, and the prompt for that was a guilty pleasure read, and I just did Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. And that just means that the last song that I have to tick off is Back to December, and the prompt for that is a book set in December/winter. So I have currently read 98 books. My goal was to read 60, so we've smashed it. So now I'm just kind of interested to see how many books I can read. I had to actually put more things at the top because I ran out of space here. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, but I will see you guys next week for another video. Bye!